Hey everyone, my name is Wes, and welcome back to Terror Talk, where I discuss creepy clips online. Just to set up clear expectations, this is a commentary channel on scary stories and weird stuff. So, if commentaries are a thing, you're in the right place. The original horror music at the end of my videos was composed by me. Now, let's get into it and have some fun.
In 1986, in the quiet town of Pepperell, Massachusetts, the Bowen family moved into an old colonial house. Frank Bowen was raising his two daughters alone after the tragic loss of their mother. Tina was 16, and her younger sister Karen was just 9. They were a close-knit family trying to heal. Not long after moving in, strange things started happening around the house.
Have you ever lost a close relative like that? For me, I've been lucky. I never really have, other than a grandma, grandpa here and there. And while I was close to them, I wasn't like super close to them. But I still love them and I still have fond memories of them, but nothing like a parent or a sibling, thank God, or anything like that. But let me know in the comments if you have. And did anything creepy happen after you lost someone? Like did they come visit you in the afterlife? Because I hear things like that happening frequently. So yeah, let me know in the comments below if that's ever happened to you.
It began with small stuff, tapping noises in the walls, lights turning on and off by themselves, and furniture appearing slightly out of place. The family dismissed it as the quirks of an old home. Then things escalated. One night, Tina and Karen attempted to use a Ouija board for fun. They laughed at first, but their faces dropped when the board began to respond. Moments later, they heard 3 distinct knocks coming from inside the wall. That's when the fear started to take root. More nights passed and more things went wrong. Objects went missing. The TV would turn on in the middle of the night. Frank began to feel watched, but nothing prepared them for what came next. Frank came home one evening to complete chaos. The house was freezing cold despite the heat being on. Radios blared static. The television was on with no signal. He climbed the stairs and found something horrifying. Standing in the hallway was a teenage boy he didn't recognize. He wore a wig and wedding dress.
Now, how freaking creepy would that be? Oh my god. Like, not only the experiences leading up to this would be terrifying, but like, seriously, I don't even know how I would respond if I saw that. I mean, a teenage boy wearing a wig and a wedding dress, like, WTF. Like, that is just absolutely crazy, isn't it?
His face was smeared with makeup. In his hand, he held a hatchet. It was Daniel LaPlante. He had been living in the walls of the Bowen house. He'd broken in months earlier after becoming obsessed with Tina. He'd installed peepholes to spy on her and her family. He moved around the walls and crawl spaces like a rat, coming out only when no one was looking. The noises, the missing items, and the feelings of being watched, it was all him. Frank was able to escape with his daughters and alert the police. When officers searched the house, they found Daniel hiding in a narrow wall cavity, crouched and silent. There were tunnels carved out behind the walls, complete with blankets, food wrappers, and peepholes. LaPlante was arrested, but later released on bail. Not long after, he broke into another home and brutally murdered a pregnant woman and her 2 children. He was later convicted and sentenced to life in prison. The Bowen family never returned to that house.
Like, dang. Can you imagine a complete stranger coming in and murdering a pregnant woman and her 2 kids? That's just like some really sick stuff, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff does unfortunately happen. But it's so rare that I feel like it happens that you would never think it would happen to you until it actually did. Hopefully, never. But dang, there's some really sick people in this world. But what a creepy story, huh? Let's check out the second one.
Ohio State in 2013. A group of college students rented a house off campus near Ohio State University. It was an old place, but cheap, and 10 people shared it. Like most college rentals, it had quirks: bad wiring, flickering lights, and strange noises. No one thought much of it at first, but one tenant, Brett, started noticing odd things. Cabinets were left open. The fridge seemed emptier than it should be. Lights were turned on that no one remembered using. The basement had a door that was always locked, labeled as a utility closet. The landlord said not to worry about it. Then one night, Brett went down to reset the breaker after a power surge. When he turned the corner, he saw a man walking out of the basement. The man was barefoot and calm, like he belonged there. Brett froze and asked, "Who are you?" The man said his name was Jeremy and walked away. Brett and his roommates broke into the locked door. What they found was shocking. Inside was a small, makeshift room. A mattress, personal photos, books, a guitar. Jeremy had been living in there, undetected, for weeks, maybe even longer. He ate their food, used their bathroom, and moved quietly to avoid being found. Turns out Jeremy had a copy of the house key from a previous tenant and had never officially left. He just started living in the basement after everyone thought he was gone. The police were called, but Jeremy didn't resist. He packed up and left. No charges were filed, but the roommates were deeply shaken. After that, no one felt safe in the house again. Not long after Jeremy left, another group of students moved into that same house. They'd heard stories, but assumed it was just an urban legend. Soon enough, they started to experience the same things: missing food, footsteps at night, doors left open. Eventually, one of the roommates ventured into the basement to investigate. What he found was disturbing. Someone else had moved in, again. Another man, older this time, had quietly taken up residence in the dark corners of the basement. His name was Jared. Like Jeremy, he'd gotten a copy of the key and slipped in without being noticed. He wasn't hostile. In fact, he apologized and offered to leave. But the idea that he had been there, sleeping beneath them, listening and watching, it left the house in a state of paranoia. The house was never the same. The students started locking every door, adding cameras, and avoiding the basement altogether. They later learned that there was a term for this: frogging, when someone secretly lives in another person's home without them knowing. But for them, it wasn't a story or concept. It was real, and it changed the rest of their living experience in the house.
Yeah, have you ever had that happen to you? Frogging? I've heard of that term before, and I think it's more commonly known than you would think. But let me know in the comments below if you've ever had a frogging experience or anything super creepy like that. I never have, thank God, because I don't want to know what I would do if I found out that someone was living in my house. But the thing is that with my house in particular, there is only like 3 rooms or something like that. Three main bedrooms, actually, and a living room and a couple of bathrooms. So there's not much place where anyone can hide in a house like mine. So it would be pretty easy to detect someone that isn't meant to be there. But yeah, let me know if you've had any creepy experiences like that. But the fact that it happened twice in the same house, in this particular story, I think I'm getting that right. I think that they said that it was the same house that it happened in again. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? Like, there's something about that house that is just very invitable for frogging, and I wouldn't want to live in a place ever again if something like that happened to me, because that would just kind of ruin the experience, don't you think? But I thought all these stories were definitely creepy, and I hope you enjoyed my commentary and the music, and I will see you in the next video.